Hi, I'm George the Antique Nomad. Come with me as I wander the country in search of valuable vintage, amazing antiques, and cool collectibles. We'll buy, sell, and trade at antique malls, shops, and shows, estate sales, flea markets, thrift stores, anywhere people go to find really interesting things that just aren't made anymore. So come on, let's go! Hello everybody, this is George the Antique Nomad and welcome to a new segment on my channel. This is going to be the follow-up for the bonus videos that I've been putting out every month for the last 15 months. If you are a level 2 member on my channel, you get early access to these bonus videos, and what they consist of is we put 20 different items on eBay on auction or buy it now. I do it once a month. I talk about the items in great depth, and the purpose of it is to make things available to my members, make things available to my viewers, but also to experiment with eBay a little bit and see how the auction market is at a particular time for the type of items that I've got to sell. I don't do eBay as a regular course of business to the same extent that a lot of other YouTubers do, because I do so many real-world shows and I sell in a lot of real-world retail spaces. So I mainly have an eBay store that does sports cards and books most of the time, which I have help with. And then once a month, I put these 20 items out. And it's really fun because I get to pick out things I think are interesting for various reasons. And then by putting them on eBay, we get to see what the market thinks of them at a given point in time. And of course, eBay is subject to the ups and downs of what time of year in the calendar you put something, what's happening in the world at the time. There's so many things that can affect particularly an auction listing. And so this is my chance starting this month to talk about what we actually got for the items, what the rationale was for choosing them, and how they did, and whether we would do that again or try something else. So I'm going to, without further ado, start with the first items here. Okay, actually, let's start with this one. This is a Japanese firefighter's kimono, and this was made in 1967. I know the date because I was selling it for a consignor, and you can see the really cool graphic detail on the inside of the coat as well. He went to Japan in 1967 and was fascinated with the idea that these were the firefighters' kimonos and that he could actually purchase one, so he's had it ever since. And he's downsizing and decided it was time to let it go. So we put it out there. I think we started the bid at $45. We only got a couple of bids. It went up to $51 plus shipping. I will say honestly, I thought this would sell for a little higher than it did. And the reasons it didn't, well, you know, it's a very specific item. It's something that would have probably done better before Christmas because it would be something that somebody might buy for a firefighter and their family. But, you know, these things happen when they happen, and this was released during the week between Christmas and New Year's, and a lot of people may have been spent out. So it didn't get as much attention as I thought it would, but it did sell, and it sold for a decent price. The same is probably true of this piece. This is from 1998. It's fairly recent vintage for me, although it is technically vintage by Etsy standards. This is a Walt Disney World train. It's the gold train in the black box. You actually got these at the theme park, and I sold this for a consignor as well. We were going to put this on a live sale, but the tornado hit Dawson Springs, Kentucky on December 10th, and as a result, the live sales had to be canceled because we had no way to conduct live sales with no electricity. So this ended up going on the level 2 instead. And if it had gone before Christmas, I think we would have gotten a lot more. I was hoping for $100 plus shipping. We ended up with $100 including shipping, which is okay given the circumstances. One thing about the shipping is you'll notice here that it was $56.50 because I was shipping from Florida, depending on where you were doing it. I always do calculated shipping so people can figure out where it is going to them. But I think that that really hurt the bidding because it was a big, heavy item to ship, And of course, the rates during the holidays are higher. So when I made the listing, the rates were actually higher than the rates were by the time the listing closed. So there's certain things you just cannot adjust for, and you just have to take it as the way it is. But the gal who bought it was in the Midwest. She was happy to get it, and I'm glad it found a good home. Now, one thing about eBay as well is that they will let you work with your photos quite a bit, but color correction is something that I'm still learning about. And this piece sold for just about what I thought it would. I was hoping for somewhere in the $50 range, and it went for $41 plus $10 shipping. So from the customer's point of view, it went for about the price I thought it would. This is a Czech glass perfume bottle, and it's pressed and with a little bit of cutting. It's a fairly small one, only 4 3/4 inches, but I mentioned the color because it looks chartreuse in this picture, and in reality, this is more of a lemon yellow color. And so I think that that affected the bidding just a little bit. The customer was happy with it when they got it, though, and that was the most important thing because the color didn't really show true. Actually, I sold 19 of the 20 items that I put on this round, and I didn't have any returns or any complaints or any damage in shipping, so that was good. This guy is another one this one I thought would sell for more. Honestly, some of these Erzgebirgische Volkskunst pieces from East Germany from the 70s do sell for high amounts. I think the problem with this one in the listing is that I did not identify him as a professor or an engineer. I identified him as a running man figure, and that was a mistake on my part because a lot of the people who collect these, it turns out, collect based on occupations and what the people are doing, and because I was not as knowledgeable about this particular line, having just sort of discovered these, I didn't really list it quite the way that maybe I should have. I'm going to be part of an eBay seminar in April. If you go to the Nurse Flipper channel, she's promoting it now. It's going to be in Florida, and I'll be one of the speakers, but I am really looking forward to sitting in on her sessions where she talks about keywording because she does eBay all the time, and she gets really good prices for things. She and Danny, the niche lady, are two who are really good at making eBay pay. And I think I have some things to learn, so I'm looking forward to that seminar. The Horse Race Analyzer. This is an early handheld game from the 1980s. I knew it could sell anywhere between $10 and $20. It went for the opening bid of $10 plus $10 shipping, which is perfectly fine. I was curious more to see how a 1980s handheld game would do because I get a lot of people asking me what they should buy from the 1980s. And I think these sorts of things are definitely things that people will look for. But I think if you had a game that was more oriented towards kids and teenagers at that time, it would probably have done even better. This guy, I had no idea what to expect when I listed him. It's just a coffee cup. I think he's cute. I like the cold paint. I thought that the colors were great and it was in good shape. It's got the rectangular USA mark that lets us know it was Western Stoneware or Monmouth, one of the related companies. But it went for $10 plus $11, almost $12 shipping. So in reality, for the buyer, it was $22, and I would expect that that would be about a right price on this. This is one of these things where sometimes it's better to sell in the real world than on eBay if you're selling less expensive objects, unless you got them really, really cheaply. Now, I didn't pay a lot for this one, so it came out fine for me. But eBay is not always the best place to sell items. If they're going to sell for $10 and then $12 shipping, it means you've left half the money on the table and the post office made more money. So that is definitely something to bear in mind. Now, again, because I'm doing these as experiments and to show what the market is, sometimes I don't care about that. I'm happy to do it just to put it out there so that we all see together what the item is going to go for. I hadn't seen one of these before. I hadn't seen one online, and I thought it would be fun to try, and it was definitely fun for someone who got it. This piece, this Wave Crest, is a very nice little box. The C.F. Monroe Company made these around 1895 to about 1920, well, 1915. And this one is a fairly simple one. It's the small egg crate design. It's probably the most common shape they made. It's a fairly common hand painting of enamel. It's still quite lovely and beautiful. Now these did, when I first got in the business 30 years ago, they sold for about $100. Nowadays, $59 plus shipping, that's really about right. So I was satisfied with what this sold for because I thought that was about correct for the market today. Just a cute little piece, and I was glad that somebody enjoyed it like I did. Now this piece, the Star Wars shirt, it did pretty well and it got a lot of bids. It got 6 bids, which I was happy with. Again, it might have sold for more before Christmas as a gift, but this is a child size. And because it's on the small side, I didn't really expect that it was necessarily going to go into 3 digits, although it could have potentially. But you can see there how small this really is. Let's get on that picture so that we can see. Yeah, it's a 38 to 40, which is considered a medium back then, but when you held it up, it really was like a large teenager size. And for that reason, I was pretty satisfied with the fact that it went for $52. And I think the person who got it was pretty happy with it too. I was really pleased that these went to one of my favorite viewers, Willie Joe in Tennessee got these. And there we go. We're going to click in here so you can see them. They have just the greatest design. New Art made these, and New Art was just downscale of Frankart, which was the big Art Deco metal producer. But New Art did a lot of fun stuff too. You can see their copyright 1931 on the back of those. I thought these were in great shape. I think in the right place, this might have been a good buy for resale. But, you know, with the shipping, again, you have to figure from the buyer's perspective, they paid $46.90. And that is probably about the correct price for these. From the seller's perspective, well, was I happy with $32? Yes, because I bought them right, and so $32 was a perfectly fine price for me to get for them. I probably could have sold them for the full $45 in person to somebody. So this is one of these things where maybe you stick it in an eBay store and let it sit for a while and you get more money. Auction is not always the best way, and it's not the favored way for a lot of people right now. But my goal with these is to show what the market is and take a snapshot of it at that time. And so that's why I'm willing to put these out at auction and let the market see what it has to say about it. This also went to a viewer, and he was very happy with it. They are marked Dresden. It's a sauce boat with the liner. The liner is often missing, so it was nice to see these together. They're quite beautiful. They're all hand painted. There was a time a Dresden piece would have sold for far more than $28.50 plus shipping, but you notice it did get a lot of bids. It got a lot of attention, and it did sell for what nowadays is a pretty close to reasonable price for these. I might have expected another $10 if I sold this in the real world. I thought this was a perfectly fine price to get under the circumstances. Again, this might have been a better thing to have on in November when people are getting ready for holiday entertaining rather than having it on after Christmas. But a lot of people get their Christmas exchange money and they spend on themselves, so I figured that maybe it would do well, and that's part of the reason that I did time these auctions for that, was so that the collectors could buy for themselves what people might not buy for them for Christmas because they're not sure about sizes, there's no returns, they don't know if they already have the piece. So I think it was worth selling. This guy, I had no idea what to expect. He sold for prices commensurate with the bears that are done with Dale Earnhardt that were made after he had his fatal accident. I thought this one might go for more because it was part of the Hamilton collection. Hamilton is the company that made all of the race coats and gear that people would buy. I think this was probably a free gift with purchase when it was first out. And so there he is. And I thought he did all right. I was happy overall with the results. I would have thought maybe he would sell for an extra $10 above that. But again, look at the shipping. Unfortunately, shipping from Florida is a disadvantage. This is something I noticed with eBay. I get better prices when I ship from Kentucky unless I'm sending things that are specific to a region. And then Florida can be fine for shipping, but a lot of people on the West Coast just won't buy from Florida because it's just too cost prohibitive now. This also went to a favorite viewer of mine in Georgia, and she is a good shopper. She's bought some really neat pieces for me. I can't wait to see what this looks like in her house when I'm in that area. It did have a little run in the middle, and so because of that, I think the $107 was absolutely a fair price for this piece. It got a lot of bids and a lot of attention, as you see. It's big and beautiful and has a wonderful design, but for the condition, I do believe that this sold for exactly what it should have, and I was very happy with the result. This I'm selling for a viewer who has a consignment with me, and I have a few of these from her. I wanted to see if they would sell well on eBay because I have others, and I thought, well, if this one does well, then maybe I'll put other ones on. Honestly, it just did okay. I would have hoped that it would sell for maybe as much as $10 more. It seems that the 1980 versions, they do want them to say damn rather than Russ, because Russ are the Chinese made, and the values on those are quite low compared generally to the Thomas Dam was. But Thomas Dam made these into the 1980s, and the 1980s ones are more recent and a little more common. This one's a fairly regularly seen one as well. And there's the 1980 mark on the bottom. Now, if it was a 1960s one, or particularly if it was one of the ones with the monkey face, well, then they can go for really, really big money, and eBay is absolutely the place to put those to sell. Speaking of the 80s, I've been trying to sell various things from the 1980s and see what the market is now. I do believe 1980s things are becoming rather collectible. It's been 40 years since the 1980s started, and there are definitely people who remember them with nostalgia. This particular box of Italian decorated gold tumblers were mint in the box, and I was happy to see that because I knew that anything mint in the box is likely to sell, and people are really liking the Italian glassware right now. And it's got that gold, which people are liking in barware. So I thought these would sell. I really wasn't sure what they would go for. I didn't pay a lot for them, so $26 I thought was perfectly great, and the shipping went well. They all got there intact, so that was a happy result. Now this next piece, this probably went for more relative to real world selling than anything else that I listed on eBay. So I was very glad that I put this one out there. This one sold for $110, this beaded ridicule. I have had a number of these that I got from a collection, and I've been guarding them and taking them to shows, thinking that the shows were the place to sell these, but honestly, $110 is right at what I think that this should have sold for, and it's actually a little more than I've been offered for these when I've had them at shows. I'm a little surprised by that because I think people are taking for granted the notion that they can get more of these, and they're getting harder and harder to find. This one had just a little bit of wear on the inside, but the person who bought this bought it for his wife as a present for her birthday. They are personal friends of mine. I can't wait to hear what she thinks of it when she opens it. I think it's a beautiful piece, and it did do well. I was very happy to see that, and I'm glad it went to, again, somebody I know. Part of the fun for me in doing this is that a lot of these items do end up selling to viewers and members of the channel, and I just love the fact that they get to have first dibs on this stuff. And that was true of this piece as well. This went to a viewer as well, and it was in great shape. It went for exactly what it should have. In fact, I think she took it at the buy it now price. It had the infuser in it, this little piece here that is the thing that you strain the tea through, and that's important because that's often missing. There was no wear to the gold or on any of the highlights, so I thought this was a great little piece. I was very pleased that it went to somebody in our little circle of friends, and it just is such a great pattern, and the Aladdin shape is such a wonderful shape. So that was neat to see. This is another example where eBay won over the real world. I had this at shows for $40 asking. This is Wildware from about 1940 with the Madonna in the shroud and the hand-painted fan. I thought she was just beautiful, and I think that she really showed well on eBay because this one sold for about $10 more than I was asking for it at the shows. And I think that is the price that it should have sold for. I believe it went on a buy it now, in fact. I just thought she was worth it, and so did the person who got it. So we were in agreement, and I was very happy with that sale. This is another example of something that I felt like I got every penny I should have for it, and it sold on eBay where it would not sell at my shows. Now, I have a friend who is collecting butter domes, and I had three. This one, a depression glass one, and a Shelley porcelain one, and she does not collect the metal ones, so she bought the other two, and I thought, well, I'll put this one on the computer then because it's by Meriden. It's a good silver plate company from the Victorian era. You can see the Meriden mark on here. And I just love the cow standing on top of this really ornately decorated dome. I just thought it was a really cool piece. I was excited to see somebody else feel the same way, and it went for the buy it now price, which was exactly what I thought it should sell for, and it did, and I was very happy with that. It was something I'd had at a few shows, and I think a lot of the people attending shows are interested in vintage rather than true antique. So true antique, that seemed to do better for me on eBay. That was an interesting thing to note. This guy also sold for the buy it now price right away at $35, and I felt that that was a good price because as cool as the Donald Duck figure is, this is a bootleg. It was made in Japan in the 1930s, and they were very careful not to mark it in any way that could be attributed because they knew that they were playing fast and loose with Walt Disney's copyright, and Disney definitely was a company that would come after you if they could find you. And so they did not mark it in any way, but it clearly was Japanese made. The painting was good, but a lot of the people who collect the Disney, much like Disney itself, do not want the things that don't say Productions, Walt Disney Productions on them. So I felt that this sold for a good price, and it sold instantly, and that was very good to see. And that brings us to the one item out of 20 that did not sell. I was very happy with the results because 19 out of 20 items sold, but then there was this. This is a jumbo button. It's 6 inches in diameter, and with it is the torn ticket from the 1979 NFC Conference Football Championship when the LA Rams won the game and went on to the Super Bowl, where they ended up losing to the Pittsburgh Steelers. The reason I thought this would sell is because the Rams are back in Los Angeles and they are back in the playoffs. In fact, they are in the NFC Championship this weekend. And I thought all of that would just be a sure winner. Of all the things I listed, I was almost the most sure that this would sell. And I figured it would go for about $15 to $20. It failed to get even a bid, and it didn't get that many watches, and I thought that was very strange until I talked to a friend of mine who is a football fan in Los Angeles, and she explained to me that in the game this weekend that half of the stadium will be occupied by San Francisco 49ers fans coming down the freeway because LA fans do not go to NFL games. They just don't fill the stadiums. And so apparently there were all sorts of extra tickets left, and there's going to be all these San Francisco fans. It'll essentially be a road game for the home team. And once I understood that, I realized, oh, okay, the fandom in LA is still really more directed towards the Raiders of all things, even though they were only there for a brief period of time. Now, if the Rams beat the 49ers and go to the Super Bowl, then I'm going to slap this right back on eBay because then everything should be at a fever pitch and I suspect it'll sell. So that's just one of those things where sometimes you give things a try expecting that people will respond one way and then you find out that there are regional conditions that affect that, and you just don't really know. So I thought that was very interesting. Let me get back onto the main screen here. And there we go. So that is the review of the eBay sales for the level 2 bonus video that came out at the end of December. For those of you who are level 2 members, there is another video coming out in the next few days. If you're not a level 2 member, please click the join button up above or check the membership information in the description, and you can find out more about how you can have first dibs on looking at and bidding on some of these items. I will have 20 more interesting things, and after they sell, well, next month we'll have another one of these videos recapping how it went and talking a little bit more about our strategies and what we're learning as we do more eBay sales. So thank you so much for joining. I'm George the Antique Nomad. I look forward to seeing you somewhere in the world of antiques and vintage, and we'll have fun again soon. Bye for now. Thanks for joining me again in the fun and fascinating antique community, here where online meets the real world. Please click the subscribe button below. Click the bell to be notified when new videos upload. Leave a comment below and hit thumbs up to like this video. Links to our online social media and our items for sale are in the description. This is George at the Antique Nomad. Bye for now.